Our series, Changing the Game, highlights extraordinary women who are making a difference now and for future generations. Arielle Zappia founded Project Y last year, and listen to this, she was only 14. It's a nonprofit that provides a platform for Americans experiencing homelessness. Arielle interviews people without permanent homes and then writes their stories and publishes them on Project Y's website. Her mission, she says, is to change the perception of homelessness in America. We are very happy to say that Arielle Zappia joins us in the studio. There she is, live and in color. Hello, Arielle.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So you're 15 now, but at 14, yes. What did you see? Because I'm trying to think of most 14-year-olds. We're talking about going to Taylor Swift. We're talking about going to Beyonce. We're not talking about, what can we do about the homelessness? What did you see that struck a chord with you that you said, I got to do something?
Yeah, so there were so many different factors that went into the creation of Project Y, but the most prominent one is just that I began listening to how people were discussing homelessness and how it was being addressed.
What were they saying that caught your attention?
They were just really focusing on the only information out there, which was outdated statistics, and that was just consistently perpetuating the same stigmas about individuals experiencing homelessness, that they were crazy, that they were drug addicts, that they were dirty. And I held on to these same fears before starting Project Y as well, because there was just no information out there. So I realized that in order for us to genuinely understand individuals experiencing homelessness and the overall experience of homelessness, we needed to learn it from those experiencing it.
So what did you learn?
So the biggest thing for me was just that we needed to talk to people, and I've learned so much throughout this entire experience. I've learned about homelessness, and I think really the biggest takeaway is that one wrong move truly can cause anyone to experience homelessness.
You know, there is misconceptions out there.
Exactly.
And there's these assumptions. You walk past someone and your friend may stop you and say, no, don't give them any money.
Yeah.
They are there because they made the wrong decisions, or they might be addicted to drugs. And if you give them money, they're going to spend it on something that they don't need to. And you mentioned it a little bit. And if you can share stories, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. But what are some of the stories that you heard after sitting down with people and listening to how they ended up in those situations?
Yeah, so I have heard stories from completely opposite sides of the spectrum. I've spoken to people who grew up homeless, their family was homeless, or maybe they didn't have a family, and that just continued their experience of homelessness. But I've also spoken to other people who had a college education, had a stable income, had a job, had a family, had everything that you would expect of someone who would never experience homelessness. Yet they both went into the exact same situation and the exact same experience of homelessness. So it really can happen to anyone.
Nate touched on a really, I think, important moment that many people who are not homeless experience, where you walk by somebody who's destitute, who seems to be in trouble, and you have to decide, do you give, or do you give it to somewhere else, or do you not give at all? So when people are in that moment, do you advise giving directly to a person, or are there other better ways to help?
Honestly, I think it's up to your own decision, but I think the biggest thing is if you're not comfortable giving directly to a person, at least give a smile. I think that's one of the biggest things when I've spoken to people. They just say that they're completely ignored. They don't get a smile. They don't get anything.
But for you, were you afraid when you were approaching? You would just, and I want to know your technique. Would you just walk up and just start talking? And were you afraid?
Yes, so I definitely was afraid. I've grown up in Orange County, and I've been surrounded by homelessness for my entire life. And up to the creation of Project Y, and even in the beginning, I was terrified. It was really scary, but I wanted to make a difference, so I went over that fear. But in terms of interviewing, I mostly just partner with organizations that serve our unhoused neighbors, and then they can volunteer. So I have yet to just go up to people on the streets. Otherwise, people on TikTok, I'll find them and then reach out to them.
But you're getting the information.
Yes.
What does Y stand for, Arielle?
Y stands for both aspects of Project Y's mission. So the first is we hear you.
We hear you.
And that is letting our unhoused neighbors know that they have a safe space to share their stories and that we hear them. And the second aspect is that we're able to use those stories to then teach the rest of society about why. Why people experience homelessness, why it's so prevalent.
And you are 30 what? You were 15, working on a book.
Yes.
Working on a
Very
book.
impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, we really appreciate you being here. It's great work that you're doing. Arielle Zappia, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good
And
to
when you run for president, please come by
Yes,
again.
I do just have one quick thing.
Yeah?
I am working on a book, Unhoused and Unheard, and that will come out this fall on Amazon. So you can go on Project Y's website and sign up on the interest form that will be up in just a minute so that you can be notified.
Oh, she has it
immediately.
down.
There you go.
All right.
Got the plug down.
Yeah, got the plug down.
We'll be right back.
Right,
Hold up, wait a
Arielle.
minute.
Yeah, hold up.